Nambo Jongde De Yin Shibo Zhuo Jingbo Yang Dongbo Zu Bei Song Ribo Dong Xiao Su Denbo De Wo Xibo Ju Den Jiang Jibo De Yue Ka Lu Jiu Ho Na Na Me Bo La Dong Me Na Jingbo Song Jie Jiao De De Bei Jiao Wo Jiao Jiao Du Bo La Xiao Zi Jiao Du Jiao Su Jie Wo 公子公女主我知道的，所见的那公婆的我，俺年纪的那就是中的这个不就那小子，难道公安就都是中我一些叫做世界我。找不见的送那能给我，公婆就你就那小子。 先求电波之面到宇宙，先多找我就那样子。对着见着什么两年之间就那样子。广播突然接电波，当街见别电波，是那一点叫做心的人写那样子。 他边的价值我就给人送的多，觉得的到就我心就那相思，这年这月那样的老婆到那老婆，先给当婆一点点给的那样相思，爹不这样那叫心给我们送走过。 让给三年用手的，天天上街的吧，干嘛着的嘛面当，就嘛喜欢去吧，面浪路多真道不，都是就能得到，是那的月同起是包夜，过光多年就着的，过冬那冬七月老抽。 随便说人着我有。
Thus I have heard. At one time, the Blessed One was dwelling in the royal domain of Ultra Peak Mountain, with a great gathering of monks and a great assembly of bodhisattvas. At that time, the Blessed One was absorbed in the samadhi of the many aspects of phenomena called profound appearance. At the same time, noble Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva Mahasattva, looking at the practice of the profound perfection of wisdom, saw the five skandhas and their natural emptiness. Then, through the power of the Buddha, Venerable Shariputra said to the noble Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva Mahasattva, how should a son of the lineage train who wishes to follow the practice of the profound perfection of wisdom? Thus he spoke, and the noble Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva Mahasattva answered the Venerable Shariputra with these words. Shariputra, those men and women of the lineage who wish to follow the practice of the profound perfection of wisdom should look at it like this. The five skandhas should be seen purely in their natural emptiness. Form is empty, emptiness is form. Emptiness is not other than form. Form also is not other than emptiness. In the same way, feeling, recognition, compositional factors, and consciousness are empty. Shariputra, like this, all phenomena are emptiness, and having no characteristics, they are unborn and unceasing. They are not impure or pure. They neither decrease nor increase. Therefore, Shariputra, in emptiness there is no form, no feeling, no recognition, no compositional factors, no consciousness, no eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, no appearance, no sound, no smell, no taste, no sensation, no phenomena. There is no quality of sight and so on until no quality of mind and no quality of mental consciousness. There is no ignorance and no exhaustion of ignorance and so on up to no old age and death and no exhaustion of old age and death. In the same way, there is no suffering, no origin, no ending, and no path, no wisdom, no attainment, and no non-attainment. Therefore, Shariputra, since there is no attainment, bodhisattvas rely on and abide by means of the profound perfection of wisdom. And since their minds have no obscurations, they have no fear. Transcending a falsity, they attain nirvana. All the Buddhas who dwell in the three times have relied upon the perfection of wisdom and have become true and complete Buddhas of unsurpassable, perfect, and complete enlightenment. Therefore, the mantra of the profound perfection of wisdom, the mantra of insight, the unsurpassed mantra, the unequaled mantra, the mantra which calms all suffering should be known as truth, for it is not deceptive. The mantra of the perfection of wisdom is proclaimed. Teata om gate gate paragate parasamgate bodhi soha. Shariputra, this is how a bodhisattva mahasattva should train in the profound perfection of wisdom. Then the Blessed One arose from that samadhi and said to the Bodhisattva Mahasattva noble Avalokiteshvara that he had spoken well. Well done, O son of the lineage, it is so. O son of the lineage, since it is just so, the profound perfection of wisdom should be practiced just as you have taught, and the Tathagatas will also rejoice. When the Blessed One had said this, the Venerable Sharadvati Putra and noble Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva Mahasattva and the entire gathering, as well as worldly beings, gods, humans, suras, and Gandharvas, rejoiced and praised the words of the Blessed One.
不松多者无助自多所，便所给的些别之别不，好言周别者我不也所，马列些家节见随别度，下界作电脑所我。多劫千波地些多劫强，求劫跌落波当那罗，别就中别波当阿地上，娘嘞心罗居罗所我的，上波多灭一年那着的，求的地月跌当着别。现在过上的年少年过，了解学别知了所望的，两人有面兄弟乐多当，老我着把这边过着的，上街观众爸爸要塞说，上门大约知了所望的。西主当别中啊的上，高当天别面包中的节，年就那些过去送了送，高当那么那了所我的，看见新的自己中啊吧，我到这边我兄弟早的，当天别到我开住的。要是举报见了所我的，就算个的老妈都坚强，看了刚的些年去做的，说到的梦着自己的，只见老妈弄了所我的，上将所了跟了大爷的。给上他把这边中安住，在人这边到给这把一，现在些年弄了所我的，叫我更多养到那么多，这边去这边了我去见，撒到那这有点少做的，多久讲给我。愿多修三界觉当作，觉那那想求不多多年就是，大概去界这边做那界，若那边是三界如不修三界觉，做界觉那那想求不多多年就是，大概去界这边做那界。若了本性上界，若不修上界就，足界中能了，相就不多多年就多。大概去界之别所能界，若了本性上界，若不修。哎呀！哎呀，大概就他妈跟了这吧去，那跟了这是的，没有咖喱切的了，那去前年这个人是的了，那咖喱切的去前年这个人是了说了，那电话准备谈到了去前年这个人是，完了水电话准备谈到了去前年这个人是了，那上些年纪，那个当他都给电话准备谈到了，你去前年这个人是个的，那当然中对吧？这边去前年这吧了，也把都不愿去。
As usual, let's begin with cultivating positive motivations. So here, first of all, one should ask the question to oneself, what is the purpose of receiving the teachings of the Dharma or giving the teachings of the Dharma? This question should be asked to oneself. And what is the objective of receiving the teachings of the Dharma? So The purpose of receiving the teachings of the Dhamma, here, answer to this question, is establishing, achieving happiness for oneself and that of other sentient beings, and establishing oneself to the temporary happiness and ultimate happiness, and as well as other sentient beings, establishing other sentient beings to this temporary happiness and ultimate happiness. So it is for this purpose we are receiving the teachings of the Dhamma today.
나 dundu yi gyunglo je se de yang je gyachang chunju de gyachang me xia je ne de so so la na so so ji bo yin bi chuan na ji me jia je ne ji na kha tong ba so le je mi ba me jia je ne rang ge de na kha de ni la dong ba tu bi ong ba la ne la re ji bi la ma la so de shu ji sang jia na je ne guo ne ran la jie xin de si ne ge jie me ba je.
But in here, now, in order to generate positive motivations or the virtuous motivations, here, let's begin with visualizing Buddha Shakyamuni in space in front of oneself. It's surrounded by all other direct and indirect lineage gurus of the stages and the stages of the path to enlightenment. And they are actually gazing at you delightfully.
rāngi yā, tātā ngā lō rāngi jīpa yī māyī bā, rāngi chūjē pāma jibē, tā yī bī sāngyē nā, dū nā yī tāmbā nā lā, rīwā jē shīmbī mā nē, jī ngā tsū tātā rīwā jē sā rāng, tā dzirā tsōpa nā yī yē, tāmbā tētā kī shiā ngā lā, ngā tsō yī jī jē, dōngyē sētā kārī yō rē, dēwā rū tā kārī yō rē, dē yī jī tā ngā rā rāngi chē kī yī sē rē, dē jī yī jī, wō ngā shū shū yō tā tā, ngā tsō mī kāma nī tsī mī bā chē kī tā.
So then, having visualized the Buddhas and the lineage gurus before oneself in space, one then imagine being oneself in their presence. And not only oneself, but oneself is also surrounded by entire sentient beings, including one's parents and so forth. And just as one rely upon one's teacher to receive the teachings to achieve happiness, and having a hope of achieving happiness for oneself. Similarly, all other sentient beings have a similar wish to rely on the spiritual teachers in achieving happiness, ultimate temporary and ultimate happiness. So here now, let's set a resolute intention that I myself will lead entire sentient beings for happiness, for achievement of happiness. And with this thought, let's take a couple of minutes to meditate.
아이. 다들게 교는 치바 전쟁은 컨셉 버시 있잖아요. 사수 주주매 아니 상조만지를 봐스.
With these positive motivations, the particular teaching that we're receiving today is the Lamp for Three Worlds, Sasum Gitami, the deities on the stages of the path to enlightenment.
다 가르쳐는 나중에 단지 링의 시용에 라마 대다 자치부터 제바데 가르쳐서나 아니 그런 속에 토산 권소제네 도바랑 질러주는 사치부 차와래 다 나쪽에야 내가 나쪽에 수랑대로 제가 레와제 대양 아니 지난 속에 니베랑데 나쪽에 서로 지서 레와제 대에 아니 랑지를 봐 생기더라.
So what is meant by the Lam Rimpa, the stages, Lam Rimpa, which means the stages of the path? Here, just as the past masters who have gone through the rigorous practice by receiving the teachings and achieved the stages of the path, which is the spiritual realizations. So I too have a genuine desire to follow your footsteps, follow their footsteps, to receive the teachings and achieve the stages of the path, which leads to the state of enlightenment.
다 들으게 냐냐게 또는 소샤게 도마 다자 템비 투베한 거기 로니도 가장하나니 데 자갈라니 제가 전역이 취되네 주주 콜로는 바송라서 보고 디지서 자가기 변조나제니 대나고 아니 자가기 변조나제 대나페바데네 배강쟁이 도나 아니 로자원 자가기 변조다다 로자원 배지 변조 로자원 냐도제네 대나페 대나페발라 대네 디지라 아니 가사 저기 좀 치바제데 베유도는 전에 아니 양신낭발라 되는 도바랑질의 총에 아니 다 다나마스 거즈 봐봐 아니 최셔사게는 정말로 좀하고 치고 도바랑이라는 게 좋아 내정에 전에 단지 탄대치자 대신 정세로 소에게 다다이 표현되래 맞소게 손바나게 진양에 제인세야 되네 라마나 지금 제바소지래.
So such a teachings is given by the great masters through their own experience of receiving the teachings and their practice. So such teachings are given by, the source of these teachings is given by the Buddha himself more than 2,500 years ago. And Buddha came to this world working for the welfare of, having intention of working for the welfare of other sentient beings. Hence, he engaged in the well-known 12 deeds of the Buddha, including turning the wheel of dharmas, 3 times of turning the wheel of dharmas. And whatever the teachings, whatever the dharma that he had taught, and then later on practiced and followed and practiced by the great Indian masters, the Pandits, which then transmitted to their followers, including great Tibetan masters and great Tibetan translators, and with the collaboration of both Tibetan translators and the Indian great Pandits and translators, who then translated such as precious teachings into Tibetan. And so these teachings are then followed by the great practitioners who then gain the high levels of spiritual realizations. Just like the Lam Rim teachings that we are receiving right now, which is teaching actually directly given by this teaching, the direct teacher of this teaching is Lama Tsongkhapa, who has gone through rigorous studies and practices and meditations. And having meditated, he then gained the realizations. Whatever the realization he has gained, he then shared his own realizations with his followers. It is therefore Lama Tsongkhapa stated that I, yogi, who has gone through such practice, and those of you who wish to achieve liberation must do the same.
네 최지 저는 또 뒤질라셔 되는 최지 저가 되나 나를 좀 저 뒤뒤잖아 동안이 이제 내 상황 내 상의 대화 인자데 죄자 용수 좀 쳐와 아니 생디비 토조 대화 인자네 라드란데 쳐와 아니 신다 첨부니 이제 룰라 케베 라마니 이제 명아지 잡아 세데 나를 좀 도움이 치죠 신다 첨부니 이제 룰라 케베 라마니 이제 명아지 잡아
So therefore now here the Lam Rim, the deities and the stages of the path to enlightenment, is known as complete instructions of both Sutra and Tantra. It is called complete, Lam Rim Chenmo is called complete instructions. Why it is called complete instruction is because it actually encapsulates both instructions to the both Sutra and Tantra. And then also, it is also known as very convenient to practice. Why it is called very convenient to practice? So it actually emphasizes only on how to bring about the change and transformation of one's own mind. The instruction is directed towards subjugation or the transformation of one's mind. And then also, finally, this Lam Rim Chenmo is also known as the ornament of the instructions. Why it is called ornament of the instruction? It actually follows the teachings of the great two pioneers.
사체 손바들랑이 단추들은 예시 제다 제거잖아요. 단중에 나와는 티바치미 최윤잖아요. 사체 탕제 유단들라. 근데 주변 상제지 보고 체도 내가 저기 친해지기 생기되니 사체 손바 예시 제다 샤와 생기되.
So then here the third outline, speaking from the third outline of the Lam Rim Chenmo, is 예시 지tarjawa. How do we listen to the teachings and how do we teach the teachings of the Dharma to others? For that, the cultivation and motivations is motivation of working for oneself and that of all other sentient beings.
다 사이 사제 제바데 종이 사 동신다고 되래. 담박 먼저 하마 지다저 이름 봐. 아니 될라. 아니 랑지 자와 신의 때비 지도 아니 때는 로치다상 이름 봐니 생이데 종이 바당 세레다. 고주네 라냐 간데도 그래.
Which will then be followed by the fourth outlines, which is Tambangwe Kilomba Chidacho Rimpa, which literally means the sequence in which the disciples are to be taught actual instructions. It is then followed by the two subdivisions of relying on the teachers. Relying on the teacher is the root of one's spiritual path, and how the students then train their mind after having relied on the teachers. So I will now go through the reading of the outlines of the Lam Rim Chenmo, which is the custom of giving the teachings of Lam Rim Chenmo.
아마 제때에 림발라니 랑지 자와 신이 때비서 때내로 제다장이 되마니 다 동버드서 때내로 제다장이 림발라니 대이 때라 힘벌이 비시 그거는 힘벌 제다니 비추니제 다 동반돼서 난 힘보 지단님 비추더라니 나치 나자라 님바 지서 힘보는 지고래 다 동반돼서 난 힘보는 지고들어서 주변 중간다 대모양 나제를 만나서는 주변전다 대모양 나제를 만나서는 주변 챔피언 나제를 만나서는 지지 다 동반이 돼서 다 주변 챔피언 나제를 만나서는 지라서 대전은 주변과 당바 센제 코나 덴바 센데 제다 지비추 센제는 쇼발로 지지 다 동반이 돼서 다 센제는 쇼발로 지들어서 senjena lobala logo be jasen lobala revala logo sanje meduba tempa lobala logo remba ni shepa ta tomoni deta ta lobala logo remba ni shepa dala ni tiba chimba chelo lo de cheba do je tiba lo je ta tombola tombola tiba chimba chelo lo cheba do je tombola son shansen je lobala hande jan ne je se je damba son zone je ta ni be suye ta tomoni deta ta zone je ta ni be suye dala ni kana lo be je de loban 델로바나 델로로 비림바지 다 동반이 돼. 다 델로로 비림바들라니 쇼바질로로즈다 제바도 파셔 타만이 뭐지지. 다 동보라니 아니 랑게 산지지 주메 바신 바 바로데신 바로제다 젠지 주메 바신 바 뒤에 뭐버지로 지지. 다 동보라 주 신발로로즈 추진로로즈 자발로로즈 전리로로즈 상대로로즈 시로로즈 지지. 다 뒤에는 아주 사제제바 인자세 샹추센비 담바 존에 제세는 쇼발라 로그비 쇼바달라 파르데 심바다 뉴모버지 니에베네는 동보달라 주예베나 예나 아주 단다 거즈 바바 준주 제바 준바잖아도 지데라 유스.
So now we are on the particular chapter of how to train the bodhisattva state in general, which actually has two parts. The training in the perfection of perfections that measure the qualities you will have when you become the Buddha. And then the second is training in the in the 4 ways to gathering disciples that helps others to mature. So now here. The first training in the perfections to measure the quality of oneself has a 6, which talks about the practice of 6 perfections. So out of practice of 6 perfections, we have covered 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. We are now on the 4th perfections, which is the perfection of joyous perseverance.
대체 당에 알려면 이제 주 제바찬도 또 동방에 가서데 뭐는 지로상이다가 지로셔 봐. 다 전주제 파르 신발로 제가 제다제나 상추 선비 쇼발로 호텔에다 이나야 저 신발의 전주 파시 주바데 다다 거수 봐봐 맞아 감각이 라네 두게 라리마도 내가 이 상추 센제나마도 내가 제라마도 고수에면 스케치제 말어. 아주 게유출을 좀 전주스라 그래. 게유출을 맞잖아. 렐리지마도 손에 아니 잘은 마서 다보정에 유의자 손 차대야 되면抓나대다 아니 겨울에抓나다 아니 되게 가서 렐리지마도 있잖아.
So here now we're receiving the teachings on 6 perfections, which is known as the practice of the bodhisattvas. So that doesn't mean here now when we say that it is the practice of the bodhisattvas, that doesn't mean that someone who is on the bodhisattva's level or who is on the bodhisattva's bhumi can practice this, because this practice of 6 perfections must be done right from now. For us as an individual, we must follow this practice right from now. The practice of generosity, ethical discipline, patience, and joyous perseverance, because the very meaning of joyous perseverance is the enthusiastic in virtues, the virtuous activities. So therefore, we need these virtuous activities in order to achieve bodhisattva, in order to gain the bodhicitta within oneself.
대로 아마도 변나 전주진양에 저거에 된지 전주지 파로도 신바세도 파로도 신바세도 고아져. 될해도 란세니 버랑 질레죠. 다다 맞서 뭐 전주 맞서 질레요래. 겨울도 조선 인자는 바로도 전주지 바로도 신바랑 질레 제발라 대단 팀비 랑지 토만에 니 공부 때네 니 공직이 타시네 바로도 신부로.
So here, it is important to understand the difference between the perfection of joyous perseverance, practice of perfection of the joyous perseverance, and joyous perseverance. The joyous perseverance must be practiced right from now for us. Though we cannot say that we are engaging in the perfection of joyous perseverance, we are actually engaging in the practice of joyous perseverance, because the perfection of joyous perseverance can happen only when one gains the high levels of realizations.
다 전주지 바로도 신발라 가슴만이 로사마 연주지 로르자 전주 바로 신발라 지 전주지 뭐 대냥선에 발은 주비 더 전주지 rab도 이야와 대다 주비세 제다 샤와지 대다게 대다 주비 대다게 된되고 오지 동번에 미바 기와를 미네 넘버 좋아 대 신주래 전가 결라 좋아오 시에서 상사래네 기와 뒤바당 senjenje danshe shido sengoba zhuwa shiji maloba da de sambi gosonje yowa la xieba o zhenri mo.
So we will begin reading from the beginning of this chapter of the perfection of joyous perseverance. Here, how to train in the perfection of joyous perseverance. This section has the 5 parts. The 5 parts here is what joyous perseverance is, how to begin with the practice of joyous perseverance, the divisions of the joyous perseverance, how to practice, a summary. Then the next is the first, what joyous perseverance is. The joyous, when you have focus upon something virtuous, joyous perseverance is enthusiasm for it. Engaging in the Bodhisattva state says, what is joyous perseverance? It is delight in virtue. The Bodhisattva's level explained, it has a flawless state of mind that is enthusiastic about accumulating virtue and working for the welfare of living beings, together with the physical, verbal, and mental activities. Such a state of mind motivates.
따라와 다 전주지 뭐 가르쳐서라서 전주 생이 미바 니바도 전주기 미바들 개와인 거래. 아니 개와 미네 넘버티 조상이 뭐.
So here, in brief, what is joyous perseverance? Here, now, the focal object of the joyous perseverance must be virtuous. The focal object of the joyous perseverance must be object. And then in aspect, it have a delight in aspect, it's a delightful aspect in focusing on its focal object. It's just like that, it is, focus upon something that is virtuous, and then the genuine enthusiasm for it.
대만이나 가서 제대로 샤워도서라 뒤지 전주세라고 말해 도리세라고 그랬어라 이바 탄 맞아 탄예제도 전주에는 이제 미지 교활미 버지 거기 상사기 소문데 실례라고 지래 근데 전주 장마데 같이 제거해서는 랑지를 교화치 바데 선생이 된다 임바 지 도아 가서 교화치도세요데 랑지 갈래 잡아되게 님뼈는 맞춰 빼상에 소위에서 배셔서 가르치고 해서는 이게 전달이 전달해 있어요. 둘이지고 정치를 교화제비때 제바때 신경이 된도 뭐가 좋아지.
So here now, when speaking about the joyous perseverance in the perspective of Dharma, here the joyous perseverance and then efforts can be differentiated. Here, when we speak about the joyous perseverance should be a persevering towards the virtuous activity. If you are making an effort to do something that is not virtuous, it is not a joyous perseverance. So therefore, it is important to make a difference between the two, joyous perseverance and an effort. Sometimes we get confused between these two, effort and joyous perseverance. So just like here, when you are actually engaging in the practice of the joyous perseverance, is why you are actually engaging in the practice of joyous perseverance is to achievement of happiness for oneself and that of other sentient beings. This should be the intention.
시제 말로바 대하네 고소 요아세디 준비세다 무슨 안에 또 그지 거르마도 샤샤지 말와 고소 요아세디 베나 링하 이송지 거네 아니 단지 양나 겨와 란줄레 제비 단들에 대양 선제 이제 아니 고소지 샤와 셰지 말하고 저 고소 요아세래도 레 요아세디 규조 담바데 고고로.
So it is clearly stated in the text itself by saying that it's the flawless state of mind that is enthusiastic about accumulating virtue and working for the welfare of living beings, together with the physical, verbal, and mental activities. Such a state of mind motivates.
고소세들 링하 이송로 링하 이송이 레칸 아니 교노 대기는 고소 링하 이송이 레카 셰지 말하고.
The activities of the body, speech, and mind must be derived from these motivations, the motivations of engaging in the virtuous activities.
다 준비 생긴데 너르질레 세그래 하나 다 준비 생긴데 냐스 렘발라 렌드기 렘발라 가와 용비 단달라 가르쳐 버서나 아니 준비 냐스 렘비 그냥 냐스 만에나 아니 이미 여바데 송고다 가디는 다래.
So then this is the case. It says how to begin the practice of joyous perseverance. What is the benefits? What is the advantage of engaging in the practice of joyous perseverance? And what is the disadvantages of not practicing the joyous perseverance? It's just like our day-to-day experience in our ordinary world, that if we think that we will gain some benefits, we may follow and do the work. And if we think that it's not much benefits, so we may not do it, right? This is the same thing. So then he says how to begin the practice of joyous perseverance. Frequently reflect upon the benefits of joyously persevering and the faults of not doing so. For you will develop joyous perseverance if you habituate yourself to these reflections. Yes.
Dela pen wana tendri pen de nimi sango yana zundu zambala pen kari yore selawa yana ni dela pen ne so do hasan kyo le donghe kyun do me pa seje jin nye so yon so pa mi shije ba sanje kin je ma bi zundu pa kan yin de ne ta de den ba ji jiten de na zo kan ji ye da jiten de zo kan da ji ye ba 준주 zampa nyeba meka na kepa sada 준주 dauji jo kanda sanje shansen shujuba deda moni juana tonene dadu 준주 zongla neba shi dene ngayi deda gyuja yin she dang sundu dode jenle jang.
So then, as to its benefits, what's the benefits of, in other words, what's the benefit of practicing the perfection of joyous perseverance? This is then as to the benefits, the exhaustion of the wholehearted resolve, name of the text, and Adhyasaya and Samkodana Sutra, where it says, always rely upon noble joyous perseverance, which clears away all sufferings and darkness, which is the basis of freedom from miserable realms, and which is praised by all the Buddhas. Now, one who joyously perseveres has no difficulty accomplishing any project, whether mundane or supermundane. Who among the learned is disheartened by joyous perseverance? Those who set forth for the Buddha's enlightenment perceive the faults of lethargy and sleepiness, and then continually persevere with enthusiasm. So have I advised them. Also, ornament of Mahayana Sutra states.
그래서 어디 또 내가 가면 저기 뒤뒤뒤 저기다 동해 기어도 몇번 세제 진세리 네 동해당 긴중 세나들이 동해 참아 아니 몇번 세번 시그리 전주 장소와이나.
So if one engages in the practice of joyous perseverance, which clear away all the suffering and darkness, which is the suffering, the origin and its suffering and the origin of it.
예소요스 방비 시치바 세데 세보세장로와 동해께 방제의 미바데 세소나 도끼니 경화게 가서 녀로도아레 먹여서를 지그러 도끼니데 메보조소나 아니 예소 세고마를 코아바도로.
So then if one is able to clear away the suffering and darkness, which is origin and its suffering in its origin, then suddenly the basis of freedom, which is the basis of freedom of miserable realms, in which is the praise by all the Buddhas. So because we take a rebirth within this unenlightened existence, it's because of this origin and its suffering, or origin and its sufferings. So therefore, once you're able to eradicate the suffering and its cause, then suddenly one will be free from the cyclic existence.
산재 균적 합이 전주파세데 산재 균적 합하다 때려다서 뭐 예비노네 아니 치바도 파바데 전주리 아니 대 마냐바 아니 템바 야보바 땡쇼소도 진도 땡세죠.
Which is, it says, which is praised by all the Buddhas. You know, the most, which is that the practice, among all the practice, it says the practice of intuitive joyous perseverance is, mostly praised by all the Buddhas.
제때 나 소세고로 당가서 자주 도서 신도다 소바 딱까지 코아세고로 마소지라 고코 용수 여바 강이바데 전주 잠발라 때는 정국으로 왔어.
So here, even in our mundane existence, speaking about the mundane project, all this project, whether it is mundane or super mundane, can be accomplished by persevering. So the perseverance is required for all.
또 안에다 전주 장세죠. 아니 갈래적으로 갈래전에 메소니나리 가레나 되게 소유 된자라 갈래전 속으로. 다니게 때 지템바 코로가 전주장을 자소나 아니 지템베는 지템비 아니 하이 메유 고방 요소용수 도바데 전주를 때는 태고리에스. 대마지 지템레 대비 아니 다 타바다 단지 쳔발라 소바데다 아니 전주 장소나
So here, if one is able to follow the practice of, particularly the practice of joyous perseverance, not just perseverance, but the joyous perseverance, will then enables one to achieve, high rebirth, state of liberation, and state of enlightenment.
캐파스다 준주의 답지 쪽으로서데 예전에 된주의 예바깔에 말이야 된주의 요거야나 캐바다 나저 영역에서 준주의 쪽을 제거마저 도와 제거를 마도 정상 제거 말어 와서
So therefore, then it says, who among the learned or the learned is disheartened by Joyous perseverance? If the individual is wise and learned, then such an individual will never be disheartened by the practice of Joyous perseverance.
아서게 미세게 유일가 신주르게 제 말에 봐도 변화 소소를 계속 첨부돼 라사질을 해서나 될 깔에 저통에 양 나지쟁이 레거와 니 뭐저질 깔에 메시지를 깔에 전에 뭐다 가사 시모게 도서 그래 된주에 되는 가서 천하지는 하를 마도 지된데라 양 계속 해서 될 깔에 전에 이게 먼저 못 쓰고
So everything, that requires, if we for our accomplishment, whether it is super mundane or super mundane, which requires hardships, right? And for instance, it just talking, speaking about our day-to-day life, when we find that something that may have great benefits, then we put in effort, we put in hardships in order to gain that benefits, and which is also, the wise to do so, right? Because if you put in effort and you're not having any result out of your effort and out of your hardship, that's not really wise, right?
대모 뒤순제 상제다 상주 선바 대다게 아니 가서 지 레리 다 레로도 세고라 니번 레리 챤세고라 니도 모발라 소바 대다게 챤 통하네 아니 따도 준주 상발에 되네 아니 된도 대와니 바리스 인자네 전화 총신야 더가라 나쇼소네 하선 규와이 규만 나도아 좀 바투변베
This is now how it says those who set forth for the Buddha's enlightenment, perceive the faults of lethargy and sleepiness, and then continually persevere with enthusiasm. So have I advised them. This is to encouraging us. The word that is the particular verse is actually encouragement.
아니 가서 이게 하선 교와 생인데 아니 교육만 되지래도 교육만 되는데 전주 장쇼 연대들 요리 좋아만지 전들 요리 소화되래도
So it's actually the encouraging the followers to engage in the virtuous activities.
셰당지 도대전례장 교육 소진 나나 전주초 대다 될라 때네 대제토 전주진에 전주진 가서 전주진에 뭐라 대내초 모준지 된대단지 대도 전주진에 수신되고도 전주진에 다버러 줄대 전주진에 지속 달래줘 전주진에 상주 초상제 셰당에서 어디 봐도 지로를 제때 좀 친리 총선 자신 방
So then it's also the ornament of the Mahayana Sutra states. Joyous perseverance is a supreme among virtues. Based on it, you subsequently attain rest. Through it, you immediately gain supreme state of joy, as well as the mundane and supermundane attainments. With joyous perseverance, you attain the pleasure desired in life, become possessed of utter purity, are liberated, transcending the view of the perishing aggregates, and reach Buddhahood, the supreme enlightenment.
단지 이게 가서 개유 초전은 전능한 발에서 이송도 되네. 개유 초전은 전주 초래스. 제가 될라 때네 니 연대다 같이 전주 zambal에 때네 디제라 니 연대지 타고리. 전주네 다 가서 대위네 대위초 세고라. 같이 가서 라네지 마도 아니나 로서 깨기면도 전주에 될 라네 또 용거.
So here now, the joyous perseverance, it says joyous perseverance is a supreme among virtues. Because once you engage in the practice of the joyous perseverance, you are then laying the foundation of the spiritual quality, laying the foundation of the positive quality, and you are actually beginning to establishing the basis of supreme joy or the supreme happiness.
다 또한 준비 점을 대이초 아니 제대로 제대로 되면 모두 강가 더 그래서 나와이나 아니 가서 초 규모 인구도 사는 양상을 도로 제대로 모두 아니 하다미 고 제대로 되고 다시 침발아서 더 그래서 나와이나.
So here now it says, through it you immediately gain the supreme state of joy, as well as the mundane and super mundane attainments. So here the mundane and super mundane attainment is here actually refers to the state of, the rebirth, of the higher state of the rebirth. And the super mundane, it refers to the liberation and state of enlightenment.
준비 전에 수시제 대화 더 생인데 아니 뭐 가서 제대 주비 충분히 자셨네요. 나를 리바다는 준비 전에 아니 지소 달에 주어 생인데 주변 전에 자셨네. 준비 전에 아니 상추 초상제세데 주비 첨부를 자네. 대 주비 천리 청소를 지자다.
So here now, with joyous perseverance, attain the pleasure, desire in life, which actually refers to the attainment of the practitioner of small scope. And then become possessors of utter purity and are liberated and transcending the view of perishing aggregates, which is again refers to the practice of the middling scope. And finally it said, enrich Buddhahood, the supreme enlightenment, which is referring to the practice of the great scope practice.
다 주비 천리 청소 강하게 냐내잖아요. 주비 청리게 다도 냐내데 저하시 말하다 뭐 있고 보러와. 데이터발란 센주거래. 아니 주분 제이데 레카데 조 시비 동해전에 타바타야 되러와. 대양 지소 달리 저거래. 주비 청리 다 휴지 상제 말가서 선제단제 상제 고보는 거에 되러와. 데 컨트롤적인 데 제가 지요나요. 센주 싸는마도 이용사면도와.
Whether one engages in the practice of achieving higher rebirth, which is the practice of the small scope, requires joyous perseverance. Similarly, if one engages in the practice of the middling scopes, which is, working for the achievement of the liberation from samsaric existence, also requires joyous perseverance. And certainly, when one engages in the practice of high state, which is the supreme enlightenment, certainly requires joyous perseverance. And all of those practice, there's nothing that one can actually achieve without having engaged in the practice of the perfection of joyous perseverance.
제당제 준비되면 노시지 판바메 노시기 종라고 말해 노시기 판고 말해 그렇죠.
So then with the practice of joyous perseverance, one will not become deprived of resources, in other words.
준비되면 녀모지 판바메 녀모기 카테 자토그리 녀모기 라니 츠 판바 제그 말해.
With this practice of the joyous perseverance, one will not be defeated by the neuroses or delusions. Rather, one will become a really strong opponent of the delusions.
준비되면 조의 판바메 세디 조아제그리 소소 빠시는 거 말해. 소야들.
So then also it says, one who has joyous perseverance is not brought down by the resources. One who has joyous perseverance by prosperity, it's not brought down by prosperity and afflictions, and then discouragement or the pity attainments.
Sundri Demba, Tope Pomba means, Topa Sidin Jebelo Kogre. Topa Sidin Jebelo Kog, Jodan Jebu Yoro. Any Sundri Zangme Jinsona Kadi and Jebu Sosola, Ta Keson Roji, Toto Baris.
So if one, in other words, the one who has joyous perseverance will always attain its result, always accomplish its result.
Jetan, Shansale Janche, Kangi Shire Shanchu Sembi Gichu Deta, Yan Tabo Juba Shai, Ju Zoda, Chone, Zunju Kana Inchi, Jene, Deta Maimbi Shire. Zunju Nalana Member Yan Tabo Zubi, Shanchu Taba Shepa O, She Dijen Shepa Nang, Dembe Damba Zeto, or Shedan Soto.
Then here it says the Bodhisattva's level as well says, because joyous perseverance alone, nothing else, is the principle and highest cause for the correct attainment of the Bodhisattva's virtuous quality. The Tathagatas have pointed out, declaring joyous perseverance is what brings about the attainment of unsurpassed perfect enlightenment.
This is Did you go Sonja? Sundry men are sure of rotten dust. Sundry men are sure of saying Nomboyana Yang, Jala Gano Jala Lujasha Sonoma, the Pechiche Yamara.
So without perseverance, even though you may have a wisdom, but it has not much use. Because in order to activate and make the manifest of your wisdom, it requires joyous perseverance. It's just like you have a very precious object that you are not actually utilizing. You are just keeping inside the trunk and locked. So this will not going to help you at all, without using it.
Could you saw the G Conain don't just sit there, right? Jen Chachin Karazana, Lanko was chipping it, shoot you man, chicken the German door.
Yeah, it always requires perseverance, right? But without perseverance, nothing will happen.
Maimba Teshirsa, Cinderella Mayodo Division. The tenement Toba Shiba was a did the Shibana, Jumbi Tamba the city, and so Pena Casa, Tenshi Tamba City, Roa. And it Denshi Malo, but Tamba Insane, Lamano, Tamba Insane, and Tambare, say Joro. Tishibana is Sicela, Lamano, there Insane, Cotembo Pores.
So here now it says, because the joyous perseverance alone, nothing else, and the principle and highest cause of the correct attainment of the Bodhisattva's virtuous quality that Tathagatas have pointed out. So the Tathagatas, the Buddha, or now Supreme Teacher, who actually taught us and showed us unmistaken path by giving the instructions of these Four Noble Truths, the instructions of the Four Noble Truths, which actually leads oneself to the path of enlightenment. That's all.
Yana Tijishi Tumba Yang Konogi Yang Su Yang Lambala Tene, Rani Jay Tamba Chavas, Tenezo Kojan Mishi, Yabuchi, Yabukoma Senati, Dumbi Tumba City, and I'm not so like Dembe Kono Tumbo Chavas, and Rani Yang Lambala Tene, Rani Tumbo Guad and Yugalanchosa.
So in this particular part, paragraph, you can, there is two different explanation of two different possibility of explanations. One can take this Tathagatas or the Tomba. Tempatse.
Tembe tembatse to so na nga so la shiji malo ba ni tembe ni tembate temba shiji malo ba re so wanda chena di sa
Joyous perseverance, but out of declaring joyous perseverance.
아니 반사장이다. 시에서래.
Why she has some other reason?
아니요, 야.
So here now, it can be, what brings about joyous perseverance is what brings about attainment of unsurpassed perfect enlightenment. It can be the Buddha who gave the teachings, the Tathagata who gave the teachings to his followers, to his own experience. Or it can also be a Buddha himself who actually gained this, who taught himself and gained this experience to achieve enlightenment by means of the practice of joyous perseverance.
그만 쭉 봐서 됐어. 이제 쉬었어.
Take a 10 minutes break here.
당가 수전의 녀선에 발랑가 총 라전의 녀선에 그가 수 가르게 써서 나가 수 간데 다나가 수 간데지 대여서 나가 수 레로 이신원 지대요 레로 이신원도 선은 간데서 레로 변나 샤워 가서 샤워 시시지 레로 세죠로 또 산에 제조세 다가랑이 레로데 도셔지 지는 저더로 지로베 레로서나 당에 투사마레서나 소소소마 빠시면 돼 양다 샤왕에 이제 단제된 되게 최나 그런 노는 돈에 네게 있어라 저는 좀 되네. 다 대송이 정화 되는 것도 여여 봐래. 매매 흔들어 다 대송 같은.
So why it is important for us to practice the joyous perseverance? It's because if you try to look at yourself, we will see that we are always remaining under the control of this laziness, in other words. So we are, completely dominated by this laziness. The laziness, mainly of three kinds of laziness. The first laziness is a procrastination. We procrastinate. And it's something that can be done today, but we procrastinate and saying that I will do it tomorrow or maybe later. This is one kind of dominance of laziness, which actually dominates our actions of the body, speech, and mind. And then another one is gilubi, lazy lelo, which is disheartening. You always dishearten yourself. You dishearten, no one else is disheartening you, but you dishearten yourself, thinking that I will not be able to do such things. I'm not going to do it because I can't do it. You're giving up very easily without even trying. This is also the part of laziness. And there's third kind of laziness, which is purposeless activities. We are engaging in meaningless activities, chattering, slandering, and all kinds of activities that are meaningless. And you are unable to actually follow the meaningful practice and meaningful activities. So those are the kind of laziness that we are always under which control that we are always remaining.
Tenga su ta geyu lo shu gi lelo chi ko tsana de re na wen ji tembe lelo se to se la ja so na da ra re aso mongbo chi de da ra gi so la 다 미세 동선에 소소소 빠르지 쇼네 뭐지 민주가 유시되로와 전주 장선의 민주가 관여 말 선도.
So therefore it says, if one really put in effort to engage in the practice of Joyous perseverance, there's nothing that we can accomplish. Why we are not being able to accomplish, we are not really, exert an effort to engage in the practice of Joyous perseverance. That is the main fault that we have.
That's just one. 真正的让他们不想到不做比想去头发些不，这些些把那就准备，准备这多些的。真正的那样到不做比想去头发些比这个做一把的，上街送比两把样的，准备不会了这个民众，等这些但是等这民众们都写当然去，把些地方来讲去，要是桌面真正切的呢，没头民众那把讲也没去，这当然去，미미 끼자 될라 템바가 딘진 넘버 끼자 터번줄 년세 뒤난 제부 여관달 연대 소지 마와 조아메 미치라 파비 대남지 메토 이바제나 페와 가사 메토 이바라지 넘버 페 시에서 소도 펜.
So then here once again we read from the previously read paragraphs here, because Joyous perseverance alone, nothing else, is the principle and highest cause for correct attainment of both bodhisattvas' virtuous qualities. The Tathagata have pointed out, declaring Joyous perseverance is what brings about attainment of unsurpassed, perfect enlightenment, what it says. And the Compendium of Perfection also states, if you're free of fatigue and great Joyous perseverance, there's nothing you cannot attain or accomplish. And also, even all non-humans delight in helping you. You attain all types of meditative concentrations and spend all periods of day and night fruitfully. Your collection of good qualities does not decline, and your purpose, surpassing the affairs of humankind, flourish like the blue upala flower.
네, 이거는 로도와 준비되는 메타바데 메주가 관여요 말이에요, 지체. 아니, 준비되 요소나 딱 그냥 펜바세나리, 제라니가 가세나리. 아니, 땡엔지 템보 터세나리. 아니, 간제 뒤도 넘버 탄치도 준비 상황이나 저거 예요 말이. 저벌이 뒤다고 말이 손도와. 저거 뒤토라 핑거리 손도와.
So here now, if you look at the benefits of the practice of the Joyous perseverance, it says, with practice of Joyous perseverance, there's nothing you cannot attain or accomplished, right? And also, all those practice of meditative concentrations, high levels of realizations, are all followed by the practice of the Joyous perseverance. So it also says now, your collection.
Any me chile chepa the papi, any Tanjitin and Devi, any Lonto and Desecre, Toby and Dentus, any Meto Ibala and the Pegers and Sitama Sombotel, see so sort of Guardian.
And also it says, spend all periods of day and night fruitfully. So with the practice of Joyous perseverance, one will be able to spend all periods of day and night fruitfully, and your collection of good qualities does not decline with the practice of Joyous perseverance, and your purpose surpassing the affairs of humankind flourish like the blue pearl flower. That's it says, with the practice of Joyous perseverance, will enables you to achieve good qualities, and also, increase furthermore. The good qualities will be increased, can be increased furthermore with the practice of Joyous perseverance.
jibo isamba. Bugu chunchun sengere, dagi ina, bugu ina, kane ina, semu tsesa nga suna, nina kasi jasana, kale kaya mindoa. Daya semu yin redu tani bikola yang nisi kakari mato, jidangi semu tani bikola, kale yo mare, chonhang ti jinse karisana, chonhang shuchira dere. Semu la gao.
Joyous perseverance is your delight in doing something. You know, for instance, when the kids play, if you do not go and stop them, they will continue playing all day and night because they are so delighted in playing things and want to do something that's for themselves, and they wanted to spend time in playing. In the same manner, if one is able to engage in the genuine practice of joyous perseverance, so this kind of delight will take place in one's continuum, will enable one to engage in the virtuous activities.
Ene nga tsu bebe ye ta hiye chula, ene kutu maasa jen ta sonse ye jera. Jen senge tala soso gabo ye di jego kasi ye sona, te kubo yinpi tsona ye ma re, chwana pe ye ma to. Ta jogo lo gyaba lo kubo lo ji kubo na, ta miya sona me kubo tuye chi geshi ye jera wa. Kutu maasa jen ta songa jesho songa ye bere.
It is always, we have been Tibetan saying that one should look at this not as a burden of, but rather look at this as an ornament.
그래서 되게 치바 가려였으나 샤완 주고보다 뒤서 땅고보다 깔래 저고보 치바에 나야 생각이 따당이 전에 가서라니라 아니 손은 제도 되는 가와 차고.
It is really true that it is always depends on how you think about it. Although there might be, although you are engaging in the same activities, but that without perseverance, without having a joyous perseverance, you may feel that activity, whatever the activities that you are taking, will activities that you are engaging in, will become so difficult, and not having an enthusiasm for engaging in such activities. However, at the same activities, if one is able to carry out the same activities with joyous perseverance, you'll have no sense of, you'll have no experiencing of fatigue. You will be free from fatigue and laziness. And so that you will be, you delightfully willing to engage in such activities.
야 최대 상에들 나체 대바지 거르마도 야 고비 우주세 지고야 저러 저거 진 태음에 깔리 전드나 저거 태야 말어 일 신주 제비 토네 내가 통비 토네.
Someone who is engaging in practice of joyous perseverance should have should use one's intellect, because without using intellect, just declaring that yourself as saying that, considering that yourself as engaging in practice of joyous perseverance, then it is not going to be fruitful. In order to become one's practice of joyous perseverance is fruitful, you should use your intellect.
맞아 맞아 변해로 변화 지와시마 매일 때 탑이 된다라 근데 갈래전은 더여려 말이었어 대신 주지 잡고 다 될래 제백이 마속이 지지 단지데 진세생인데 뻔해 아니 된적이 타바 좋았을 때 더여려 말이 근데 나이나 근데 나던 지바 지장이 랑이 세제 단지 더여려 말이었어 또 솔루션 주제는 생이 돈은 양념제네 또발라지 때는 랑이를 대치 주다데 랑이 시주기 때는 양념이 돈의 시주제네 또바니 그러와.
So this is how we should always analyze to see before one engages in practice of joyous perseverance. For instance, if I were to engage in practice of, adopting virtues and abandoning non-virtues for achievement of one's high rebirth, how possible it is? Is there any possibility that I can, if I follow such practice, is there any possibility that I can gain this higher rebirth, on a future life? One should analyze that, and using one's intellect or one's wisdom or discerning wisdom to understand the result of one's practice and so forth. Once you find the result, once you know that there's a result, then one follow the practice of joyous perseverance. Similarly, think about if I engage in the practice of eradicating this self-cherishing mind and self-grasping mind, with it is how possible it is for me to achieve freedom from samsara and so forth. And if this is possible for me to achieve such freedom, and is this, then one further analyze that how possible, is there any possibility that others can too engage in such practice and gain the freedom from samsara and so forth. So this is how you should always go through this analysis. And once you have gone through this analysis, you will gain some kind of experience, and through one's own experience, then one will be, then be able to, one is then ready to engage in practice of joyous perseverance.
당아서 전화를 집 배드 사발링 나서 가르잖아. 대래 뒤세텔라 지지보에는 도저 한 산에 지보에는 도보에는 저 전에로 지내게 손지 지정 어찌전에 다랑이 레로왕이 나셔르마도 신주제는 대래 야진도서 여미게 서바진의 제매와 다 배선노는 다이디 다 대래 야진도선도 아니 대래 전화기 깔려 저쇼다 안 대래 저번 대대 셔 타여레 저런 깔려 저쇼세는 다 손셔야 돼 다른 것도 체니체되어 들어와.
So this is how, what normally happens with us. We do not really go through analysis. We're just taking for granted. And whatever that happens, we let it happen. And without going through any analysis. Which is, which that is actually habituated in our habituation of way things, the way things that we are doing. But now, by looking at the text, receiving the teachings, going through the studying of this text such as this Lam Rim Chenmo, then it is not just mere enough adequate just to receiving the teachings day to day and just let go by day to day. This is not how it should be. One should go through the critical analysis by following the teachings and receiving the teachings and think about the result, how possibility of the achievement of the result of one's practice and so on.
다른 가서도 세대기 동해서 먹고 싶으지 영수 줘봐대 또 미시병원게 강에 퇴버도 쓰고 세장로 와. 또 미시병원게 강에 퇴비 된다라 아니 저런저 깔려 전에 시바 제시고 손에 지리. 다양 라니 슈지 자와치 뭐 짱짱 제네. 아니 텔레비전 거지 나서는 나 나서 라바 나서 나 나서 베데 지 가서 카싱엘로 카싱 제비카도 로나 얘기 주포 강가를 지 만도 차도 나도 치세는 대초초를 지어나 가투소나 그 나사 땅도 손에 지게 진지슈 정보 지게 냐데 얘기 강에 채우세데 소어로 다 된지 강에 보들라 타들라 아니 깔에 저쇼서데 아니 준주 장쇼 소어.
So all those difficulties and unwanted experiences that we all experience is due to not knowing and unknowing. In other words, due to our ignorance. That is what I would put it. So now what the teachings suggest us is to now don't live as it is. Analyze. Think very carefully and go through a critical analysis and to see how you can get out of those difficulties and how we can get out of this, bondage and put in effort, right? So here we have, as we discussed during our previous teachings on the practice of patience, where it stated that we are having this difficulty without having a practice of patience, because just like someone's body is completely wounded, if you have a wound body, if your body is wounded or your body is sore, and even if by slight touch from others, even if you have touched anything that can touch your body slightly, the pain will be so intense. So, unbearable pain will experience by the individual. Similarly, if one is not being able to analyze one's own self-cherishing mind, the functions of the self-cherishing mind, it will wound your mind. And a slight, unwanted experience will become an intense pain, the mental pain.
他里面呢说到，他里面呢，老周讲出学吧来了见了呢，想就新的人心，能把人忘记，来了见那了呢，人把面把呢，写了就把面多去，来了见了呢，人就对面多去，写当，全把人家来讲，你们那几十几年来了人的讲了有。刚了来了剧院的，带了去给面把人写送把他，尊重面呢，来了我的送呢，刚去根据碰完就业，那个的他都给这边短堂起来两班交了送的对你们。
So then here it says, as to the faults of not joyously persevering, the question of Sagaramati Sutra states, the enlightenment of the lazy is exceedingly far off the distance. The lazy lack all perfections from generosity to wisdom. The lazy do not work for the other's welfare. And the mindfulness of excellent teachings. Sat Dharma Samudraya Apasthana states as well, which says, whoever has laziness, the single basis of afflictions, whoever feels some laziness, lack all good qualities. Thus, if you lack joyous perseverance, you come under the influence of laziness and become poor in all good qualities. So you lose every temporary and ultimate purpose of being human.
对了，俺当你来了了一把来了送，你学就来了生的都晓得啊，你小娃也就来了，俺土个门都是的了啊。但可是啊，记录别来了是的，俺土个门都，小娃也就是的，他平常现在去用的，你两个上学了就民就给教了啊。等这个来了就要呢，他得了想就人家教哎，他上你这个是呢，你两个菜面吧，我中国到哪去了？
So one of the laziness which we are habituated with is the procrastination. That I want to do tomorrow, I want to do later. Though that nothing is stopping you from doing right now, you put off your things. Something that can be done right now, but you put off that things, put off your work and so forth. This is the worst laziness that we are always habituated with. And then next laziness that we talked about earlier, it's a laziness of disheartening yourself. You remain disheartened and not really trying, but thinking that I will not be able to do that, and I'm gonna give up. I will not do it without even trying. And there's another kind of laziness that you engages in nonsense activities. Or so if you remain yourself under such, laziness, under the control of such laziness, then nothing will be achieved, right? So Rinpoche engage so nang ge nge tiang.
Bena shawa ngege se de soso gi chingi nale da uji la shawa ngeba jane de masa pa de nge chu du to sama de tsana nge chege lo ai na ni shawa ngege on de sonne ni da gas joshima benje pe duegi chu ji de ko ga ag maro yun ma do.
So here just think about if you were to put off your practice of Dharma by saying that I'm not going to practice Dharma until I finish my, uh, household chores or my work or my, mundane, in other words, the mundane activities. Until I complete my mundane activities. And then this will never allow you to engage in Dharma, right? Our mundane activities will never cease.
근데 가서 가르쳐 볼서는 변화 샤와 슈슈들 레로 생긴다라 근데 최전에 단단히 제세 되나게 있잖아 근데 소소 이게 되는 배전체 그 지로.
So here now in order to overcome the first laziness, which is the procrastinations, you should not procrastinate, particularly when it comes to the practice of Dharma. One should begin to practice right from now. When you think that you have a time, why put off? Just engage, just go ahead and practice right now.
그 먼저는 공동으로 먼저 소환하기 맞추게 소소도 자체되는 리그로 그게 춘춘내에서도 년시도 받아라 제적으로만 되는 얘기做了 다 되는 바지 다 제거 선이야 얘기 수지 세고 세장하로도 다 되는 바게 다 경고 차투고면 되서 되는 얘기 수지做的 다 간제 메세는 메세 동버시베 나타서 다랑 용도다 맞추 최캐링이 지금 뭐 시나요.
So here now if we are unable to begin or initiate our practice right from now, this is what will happen to us, as J. Kungtan Rinpoche has stated, that we have spent our time as a child thinking that I'm a child. The children will not be able to engage in any kind of virtuous activities. And then once you past childhood and you become an adult, then we keep thinking that I will do it one day, but not doing right now. I will do it one day. Suddenly you're procrastinating your practice. And then when you pass this adulthood, then you will then become old aged. And then you say, I'm an old man and I'm an old woman. I will not be able to do it. I can't do it now because I'm old. So with this kind of laziness, you are actually, venturing on the path with empty-handed. That is what Shri Kungtan Rinpoche has stated.
맞아 제로벨 생긴데 야 된저와 변에 잘라 저거 차고 쉬우지 변에 길로 자체 뭐 쳤다네 자기서나 나 제로벨라 맞아 자투야 그래야 말아 다때 많이 봐서 생지연데 세데 거 갈래 공지 때네 아니 해유에지도 공지 때네 아니 레하는 로에데 생기 치치로 마도 나서게 두고면도 세데 첨부지 대자네 야 카툰 저거나 두고면도 세 손할 때마도 지 뉴뉴지는 공부전에 사게 손한테 가서 매와있잖아. 다가랑이 질로벨라 제셔셔도.
So here now the second kind of laziness we talked about earlier, that's by just remaining disheartened or discouraged. One remain discouraged by not doing anything, by saying that I will not be able to do this and so forth. Again here, that doesn't mean that when someone asks you to lift 100 kilograms of object or whatever, you can't again put an effort to do that, right? This is not something that this is not by not lifting that 100 kilograms. It's not remaining under the power of this laziness, not at all. But here, what we are talking about here is we're talking about development of one's own mind, the mental quality. So mental quality must be developed in a gradual manner, because the development of our mind will not take place overnight. It requires a process. So therefore, one should not put off, one should not remain disheartened, but put continual effort to bring about change, bring about transformation of one's own mind for the betterment.
대체 당가서 샤와니 열려는 단지세요나 이래 진진대기 샤와치기 된다라 내가 좀 되는 최소를 이래 뒤서 돈 투미도네 배 가보러와 대지 당가서 샤와니 바스는 나한테 리뷰해지 말이다 간제 추주에게 된다라 다음 투기게 샤와 고친 전능이지 엔다 선대기 되지 세고라 선대 맞잖아 지금 말에 제고래 네 제당되는 지게라 네 추션의 조약이 돼서 또 문제인데 네 샤와진다 지는 신비원기로 와.
So here now there's the other activities that are meaningless activities, which actually becomes again a hindrance for one's own spiritual practice. You know, suddenly, of course, when we think about our mundane activities, our day-to-day activities are not really a dharma activities. This is also actually belongs to the meaningless activities. When you know, from the practitioner's point of view, it is a meaningless activities. However, we cannot really let go of those mundane activities at the same time. But the important part for you is to not letting yourself remaining under the power of always engaging on those meaningless activities.
다 된저기 레로 송바데 소소는 두드면도 지다 다 된저기 레로 송바지야네 네 상초를 림바 상초를 림바면 다 진비 냥네네서데 다 파신주의 싫어할 거지네 냥네데 연구 말에 송도와 레로야나 데카데도 송로와.
So now here for us, when we are engaging in practice of this joyous perseverance, it is important for us to analyze whether we are remaining under the power of the three kind of laziness, or whether one is, having those three kinds of laziness within one's continuum. If so, then enlightenment is exceedingly far off and distant.
나바도 레로도 요바리 예때 투베 미용비 강라 이 녀모기 예자 떼어데 레로레도아.
So then not only that, furthermore, it also prevents us from furthering our spiritual quality, our spiritual realizations, and becomes a foundation. This laziness becomes a foundation for arousal of all other delusions.
녀모는 지시치네 레로인데 네 레로 강라 요바텔라 기초 기여마데 손도아.
So whoever has this laziness will not be able to accomplish the spiritual result.
시에송바다 준주면나 레리 온도 손에 가치 긴주 풍원제세리 네 가치 긴주 조보 맞서서 그래 변한 잠블리데라 소이게 되지에나 소소 칼라사면 소소라 아니 미길해서라 그래서 대나게 선제기 때바데 사다도다이나 소수지라 아니 제 장도 센체지 매와이나 아니 소소라 게이치 폰스라고라 제 게이치 쇼라 베자마지 폰바레마도 석강이 메제나 하샤기 말와.
So it is always, it's up to us to become oneself as a genuine practitioners by engaging in the practice of taking refuge in three jewels and so forth. Otherwise, even though there might be a teachings of the Dharma is exceedingly pervaded at the entire land, if one remains, not engaging in practice and taking refuge in three jewels, regardless of how Dharma is pervaded, one will then remain untouched by the Dharma, untouched by the flavor of Dharma. So one should put in effort, whether one will become a practitioner or not. It is not really whether whether the Dharma is pervaded in the land. It is the individual who needs to engage in the practice of Dharma by taking refuge in three jewels, in generation of bodhicitta, and so forth.
그렇게 가축지에 매와이나 지와시마라 하도메 고바토발 메게 주봉이 추추체지 거로 되는 매와이나 내가 이때 가이 내가 이때면 아니 다도 다바다 다지치바다 아니 가네 로와 엔 주변 되다 당치는 양발에 손도 소신되다 대화인바도 세고 세장로.
So with the lack of joyous perseverance, you come under the influence of laziness and become poor in all good qualities, right? So you lose every temporary and ultimate purpose of the human, ultimate purpose of human. Here, even for achievement of high rebirth in our future life, it requires the practice of abandoning non-virtue sections and adopting 10 virtue sections. It requires a perseverance again, yes.
다 전주지라 사제 손발에 전주지라도 여와서네 다 전주지 모생에 된저지 아니 전주디 여나 계속되는도 아니 매나님이 되는도 인산은 다 전주생에 냥는ချက်고도 세데 아니 다 전주생에 될 가세요래 세저와.
So now we talked about the benefits and benefits of this practicing joyous perseverance and the faults of not engaging in practice of joyous perseverance. So if this is the case, then how do we really engage in practice of joyous perseverance? When it comes to such questions, then it talks about the divisions of the joyous perseverance.
두스레다 변나가서 처음으로 때문다는 로게나 잘라 자치부터 리아나 때라 배시 처음지 말하나 소소를 얹혀서게요 맞다. 다 단단가서 거라 잘라기를 타 용수 저거도 소소 자조관에 자네. 아니 때라 멜 배시 저거 말에 소소기 말을 전에 되네. 아니 냥도전에 소소지로 노브라이게 토일레테 아니 가서 다 담비치 채와로.
So now here, it is just like if you go to the market and then you see all kind of desirable objects or desirable things, the materials that you may want to buy, but if without the money that you will not be able to buy things, regardless of how marvelous those the merchants may be, the merchandiser may be, but you may not be able to buy it without the money. Similarly, you may have a fully, completely and fully instructed texts in front of yourself on the table. But if you without opening the text and going through the reading of the text and practicing, such as the qualities of laying the foundations of the virtues quality and so forth will not take place.
되게 다 전주지 뭐하더라야 용수 줘봐도 시에는데 맞아 세체다에 세연세 다지 넘버 탄시 다 전주 생긴데도 여완들이 도서도 롱원에 지차는데 아니 다 전주 생긴데 맨날 저는 지금 당하랑이 책임이다 세데 다는 가서 튜베 땡라 법이 된다더래 다 튜베 땡라 법이 된다데 시에는데 아니 건배 녀슬해야 돼 고조.
So here now, if once having understood properly of the benefits and the faults, benefits of engaging in practice of perseverance and the faults of not engaging in perseverance, and then understanding the importance of engaging in the practice of joyous perseverance, and will then, encouraging oneself to go through the readings of the instructions, and not only but try to understand the description, the meanings of this, which is then be followed by the practice of joyous perseverance.
다 somba zunri jiro de yawala nyi je raya ngo dang zunri jebi tao so dongbo la song de gochi zunri gyawa chudi ji zunri senje tenji ji zunri so.
So then the next it says the divisions of the joyous perseverance. The sections of the divisions of the joyous perseverance has two parts. The actual divisions, the method of developing joyous perseverance. The actual divisions, sections of the actual divisions has the three parts. First, armor-like joyous perseverance. Second, joyous perseverance of gathering virtue. Third, joyous perseverance of acting for the welfare of living beings.
되지. 라 근데 초속이 주마치 시가 말이야. 라라치 시바제. 준주세데 아니 뭐 겨울을 쪼이. 가사 겨울을 미비 아니 쪼이 센지레도. 아니 이게 카티 때와데 레로를 카티 자기도. 아니 콜에 여와데라 니 고체 아니 겨울 취디 센지 된지 전주 송도 세야지. 된저지게 시소이나 양 코르기 소소라 라반의 죄치라고 그러와.
So here one should always understand when it comes to the practice of joyous perseverance, what is joyous perseverance? One must understand that. As we talked about earlier, that when you have focus upon something virtuous, right? And then joyous perseverance is that enthusiasm for it. That is what is meant by joyous perseverance. So in order to achieve such practice, what is the opponent which need to be eradicated, which need to be negated, are the laziness. The laziness is the hindrance for achievement of this practice of joyous perseverance.
뒤중가서 고차세도 가생가서 저비 고차세 지발에 고차생인데 랭거지 빼와라 아니 가서 말을 줘서나 수수기 주보를 메테기 고차세 지가 거로 대나게 이게 준주 잠비거나 생 빠문성이 로답지라 고차세라 그래.
So here the armor-like joyous perseverance, the first division, which is the armor-like joyous perseverance. Just like if you are in a battlefield, that you are well equipped yourself to protect yourself, such as wearing extraordinary armor and so forth. You will not be affected by other weapons. Similarly, when you are engaging in practice of the Dharma, your mind should be protected. You should wear an armor of joyous perseverance, so that you will never become disheartened. You will never be discouraged by any situations.
동보네도 상생는 준주 좀바나 조용하로네 센지 조항모든 로이 상비 고찬데 내다베 쳔바 셰데 손도 다네 개바쳔보 동도 유념비 니샤 사비 개바쳔보 장메바 송 셰와 참 몽지지 senje 찌게 동해세위 셰도 senje 녀와 권한 내나 사제 토번 주나 조아셰데 조상기 셰도 좀바 셰발라 준주라 숑바 메토나사 이통이라 레 말이 뒤지 인텔레 통 동해 최초에 따주면 냥바 대답이 거치 준주 소송도 거치 준주 소 나 상세 강 준주 된다와라 면바 장당 대파장 제바 대양 템보 인데 라메 상추기 셰도 준주 장보 바도메 비주 대바 셰나 준주 대당 demba 따지면 대란에 상추당 제지 셔도 레강랑 센슌비 가와시 급이 시작가와 제양 메바 상사레 손데 대다이 상발라 공바샤나 태바침비 리지니바 세녜비 준로와 장와 샤오 손도 어때바도 로라치네 배지자기.
So now here, the armor like joyous perseverance. When bodhisattvas joyously persevere prior to activities engaging themselves, they put on the armor of a primary enthusiastic thought, such as for a trillion sets of 3 immeasurably great eons, each composed of the days as long as 1,000 great eons. I shall not relinquish my practice of joyous perseverance for the sake of relieving the suffering of a single living being. I would rejoice at remaining only as a hell being until I attain Buddha. As I exert myself in this manner for the sake of complete enlightenment, what need is there to mention my perseverance over a shorter period or the face of lesser sufferings? Such is the joyous perseverance that is like armor. A bodhisattvas who produce even an aspiration for or just faith in such joyous perseverance is steadfast. How much more so one who is endowed with this perseverance, given that he or she develops measureless causes for joyously persevering for the sake of unsurpassed enlightenment. The Bodhisattva's level says that for such a person, there is absolutely no action for the sake of others and for enlightenment that is discouraging or entails hardships. When you become conditioned to such a state of mind, it becomes the definite cause of awakening your potential for the Mahayana lineage or training it. And concerning armor like joyous perseverance, the Compendium of Perfection says. No. Nisajil pen nisani las sanimake were de yomaro. Is nis sagudile mem darumche.
Oh, ne saguliore.
Saguliore.
Matari sajul silevi.
Oh, less. So nisanil mepsi.
Oh, sanil mepsi.
So as we already discussed about not having a Dharma class in our next week, right? And then the following week, and the Rinpoche will not be able to, Rinpoche is also planning to go somewhere else. In the 22nd, he will not be here. The following Sunday falls on 22nd, so he's not gonna be here as well. So we're not having 2 weeks of class. So let's do the dedications here. By means of collecting all the virtues and the blessings from the Buddhas of the 10 directions, may I engage in the practice of the Bodhisattva's deed and generate a bodhicitta, as a heartwarming bodhicitta. Having generated this, may I establish all other sentient beings to the state of complete enlightenment. May all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas please bless me to be able to do this.
道于今年所必给我的，电动着我跟了光平等，确保就尊罗桑照过一，点边宁波人。乐见说所见对对书见面多种，这首理解年代见报的，藏觉见多面对被我也，若根能道见，若不说借我更多养到那么多。这面确实别了能学见，撒当能就有的绕做的。多久将给我，让多说也当过人那个那样那样面，天天人多别来做你，看到阳光高兴撒把的。老面马的给动着我呢，能真家业我不到就急，天马顺便踩着更多样，江边养就在远接送的，天边人马更长能接触，年年周边见那年些数，让给接近多边能接的，就照在远正月讨给接。若月月就面包这些年，家业担保有人真就急，担保挣钱就给忙着吧，乔家娘把举杯说的呢，一句钱不也让就把也。遍地对对是我写不说，世间家业民众听了的。列柱相求能就临别中，唐对能就一浪别的心。家园在把人多将就老总主编天前主席间，给见世界没当面面跟，才到更多家园我不也，能多能当着我没就见。刚才铁棒出了去学去，七星住了尊巴地边子，土地能就大都主席去，这些将是说，有就见就是那面古菜肉点睛，那个城里数据结果呢？罗上点别正面撒松。若也面色到年久见，空若若人过于心光速，偏当电话忙里中原，心里人往定真叫作业，小别心田不多天久见，江边花园接大前波，更多上坡电阳电见的。得到根据就是道路，给我得到当街绕住我，就从西边叫我当街，我刚了就多我把的，大仙给月找我的根章，从不学习绕住我。哎呀，吐气，Thank you。